What's up, guys? How y'all doing today? Yeah, surprise, surprise. I didn't feel like recording yesterday. Um, but uh, I did have the intention of playing Redfall today, but with the reports coming in that the game is all but unplayable on PC. Maybe it is. Look, I remember Fallout 76 when it launched. I remember all the problems. And that was with a much grander game than this. Not even just with the Fallout, like the story or whatever IP it is. And by the way, how y'all doing today? I'm Josh with American Gnome Productions. This is the Gnome Show. Fallout 76 had a grand vision. Yes, they didn't pull it off very well. Even now, it's not what we desire, but it is in a better state, arguably, than it was before. It's in a much better state. Let's be fair. It's nice. It's not a bad game to play from the start. If you're all the way into it, you're stuck waiting for content. But it's still it's a good game to get around and do things with. They should have. Why would you even release a game that is bad? You know what? Like, let's just dive in. Let's go for this is Juicehead. We're just came out like less than an hour ago. Subscribe to him if you haven't before. He's a pretty good source for news and commentary. So let's do this.
So what is going on with Redfall? Have you been on the internet?
What is going on? What is going on with Redfall? Please tell us, Mr. Juicehead.
For hours, you likely saw at least some of the discourse on Redfall and really what it means for Xbox overall, and even.
I literally had this game installed with the update and everything ready to go until this fucking this bullshit came out. I'm not spending my time playing a game if it's this bad on release. I would much rather wait for it to fucking do its thing or just ignore the whole game.
How it seems like hopes for Starfield are plummeting by the minute due to the recent Redfall launch. Just yesterday, not only Redfall reviews,
and that's really
but
bad.
The game itself dropped. Which, right off the bat, both of those coming at the same time is a problem on its own, and we're definitely going to be talking about that. Redfall is shaping up to be a disastrous launch for Xbox and Bethesda overall, leading many fans to be fed up with the company to the point of calling for the head of Xbox to step down, and even further being concerned about what is going to happen with Starfield. So let's talk about all that. So
this is Quattro.
This is going to be my full-scale
He's a good boy.
Review. I have been playing the game. I was invited to that hands-on
event in March,
and I did receive a review Saturday. So I am able to bring you the perspective.
He's a little bit
a bunch of other
doused
reviews,
on catnip right now,
but when playing the game for myself. And yes, for this video I went through and read a bunch of the Redfall reviews so we could get a better idea of the overall thoughts and perception on the game, and they're bad.
Look at that
and
majesty.
Just a succinct example of how bad this actually is. The game currently has a 65 on OpenCritic, which okay, not the best, but even worse is that only 25% of critics recommend you play this game, aka the vast majority are literally saying just don't bother, which marks this as not only the worst reviewed arcane game of all time, but also quite literally the worst reviewed first-party
first time on camera, huh, buddy? Have to get you your SAG card too. I'm waiting for Gomi's to come in the mail, and I think Khaleesi's too.
Low point for what has historically been one of the best reviewed game developers with Arcane. One of the big talking points leading up to the launch of Redfall was the always online requirement, featuring the Nouveau DRM on PC.
Yeah, that's not what anything looks like in this game.
60 FPS performance mode on consoles. Now what's funny is, despite these being some of the biggest talking points before release, in the actual reviews these barely come up. Although yes, Redfall does have its fair share aware of bugs and performance issues, with frame drops being quite common on some PCs. A lot of people also didn't really have problems on this front. For me personally, I was able to play the game quite comfortably, rarely dropped.
Roommate made grilled lamb and chicken today, so we're having tacos, and I've already gorged myself a little bit, so I feel really nice and it feels good. That lamb's
being FPS, and it seemed like for consoles it held 30 FPS surprisingly well. I know though, bugs were definitely a bigger issue at times, as they could impact progress. Beyond lag and bugs, what ended up being the bigger talking point with Redfall in the reviews is just this game isn't that good. This is not a Jedi Survivor situation where it's a good game plagued with bugs.
Yeah, how are you getting the drop on vampires?
Redfall is actually a mediocre to bad game that also happens to have some bugs and lag issues. The biggest issues cited with Redfall were just it's a generic game that lacks
Look at that frame rate. Good God Almighty.
Intricacy. There was barely any NPC interaction. And the story itself is literally told through slideshows. With comparisons to Fallout 76 coming out, as this is a game without dialogue choices and mostly told through notes and finding ghosts that also released in a relatively buggy state, just like Fallout 76. Reviewers described how the loot system felt underbaked and largely pointless. And basically every quest is going to be some rendition of a fetch quest until you eventually get to a boss fight. Almost nothing around the game received praise. Even the good parts were largely just the mediocre parts of Redfall, with reviewers describing things like decent weapon variety, pretty good sound effects, interesting environmental storytelling from time to time, and how the co-op gameplay did feel pretty fun. But beyond that, when it comes to the actual gameplay, the enemy AI was described as dumb to the point where trying to do anything other than running and gunning was pretty much just pointless. As well as the game consistently felt either too easy or too hard and rarely found that difficulty sweet spot. Overall for me, I just found Redfall to not be all that interesting. The story never really sucked me in, the enemies had poor AI, it's mostly just doing open world things and clearing out some enemies from areas, and there are a lot of other games that do that a lot better than this one. But at the same time, I definitely didn't feel it was as bad of an experience as some of the other reviewers made it out to be. It's definitely not a great game, but I also didn't feel like it was a horrible game or unplayable. But everyone does not agree with my take there, as I think what has been one of the most telling parts to come out from some of these recent reviews was how several reviews recommended not playing Redfall even if you already own Game Pass. If you already have Game Pass, you could basically play the game for free, but many reviews said don't bother. Although personally, I largely disagree with that sentiment. I think if you do have Game Pass, I would recommend giving the game a try. Despite its flaws, I think co-op with a couple of friends, maybe throw in a couple of beers on top, and you have yourself a good few hours of fun. And although I'm mostly focusing on reviews for media here, this negative sentiment is pretty much just parallel.
I just don't have any, I don't have any fucking patience with fucking bad AI. Like, 20 to 30% I really don't.
Being positive, and you can find tons of posts on.
Look, I'm not jumping on bandwagons. I genuinely don't like what I see when I look at some of the gameplay. Like, just things are bad. Being locked at 30 FPS is also a really bad time. And I mean, I've already been through it. I have games that I can play that I have tons of games that I can play on fucking Game Pass. I don't have to play it just because it's free and there. Maybe when it fixes its fucking bugs and addresses some issues, maybe I'll be down for it. Just like it does not fall on me to play a game just because it's there. Like, if it's bad, I'm not gonna play it. If it looks bad, I'm not gonna play it. If I see fucking vampires T-posing on the first day, like, you didn't fucking test this internally. You didn't have a group of fucking testers that were, like, you know, hopped up on caffeine and fucking high off their asses, and just say, hey, go at this and motherfucking see if it fucking works. Tell us where, and how it doesn't. I mean, is that not what internal testing is for? Or did you think, oh, well, we've already got the contract with Game Pass, it's gonna go up regardless. Like, we'll fix it in post. This isn't a movie, bro. Like it's out there. Like, you released a very bad film, uh, movie, video game. You released a very bad game. Um, I watched the first, I don't know, 20 minutes of the game, and it looks like it doesn't look very good. Whatever, man. Like, I'm doesn't matter now. Like, I'm 2 hours in. Like, it's whatever. Um, Sorry, talking to my cousin. Right. Um, um, so, um, under 20 hours, even including the side content, I've spent that much just fucking. I mean, granted, when you want to speed run through something or you don't care about side content and you just want to beat the game, I guess you could do it in anything in well under 20 hours. Like Atomic Heart. What do I have in Atomic Heart? Put that there, and let's see, where is, there it is. And let's go to profile, Atomic Heart. I have a day and 13 hours and 14 minutes inside Atomic Heart. It's at least, that's 24 hours, no, 33 out, 24, 34, 36, 37, 37 hours in that, and that's just like doing regular stuff. Like I've gone into some of the secret stuff. I've gotten into one of the bunkers just now, but you shouldn't be able to do all the side content, including the side. You shouldn't be able to do all content, including side content, in less than 20 hours. Yeah, this is supposed to be a flagship game. Like, it's not. Like, when does it become acceptable for a game just to be playable? Like, when does it come acceptable? How has it come to this that you were like, you can release a broken game? People are fucking like, we know that you're going to release, like, it's almost expected that companies are going to just release really fucking bad games. And you can get mad at me all you want, developer, but that it is still, that's your work getting put out. Like, you know, this is a product. Is you expect us to pay money for it? You know, especially people in my age group where we've been through your whole fucking thing. Like, you know, like I'm from my origin date is 1980 something. So, like, we've seen it all. We've seen everything. We've seen everything get progressively better and then reach a good, nice plateau, and then all of a sudden, like, at some point, you started getting. And then we understand this is a business. Everybody understands business. This is, you know, but you still have to release a good product. And this does not invite confidence. Like, I thought you guys learned your something from Cyberpunk. I don't know, man.
I'm being very negative and really saying this game is an embarrassment overall for Xbox, which really makes you wonder what this game looked like before the latest delay. If you don't remember, this game was actually delayed about a year ago. Definitely seems like this game would have benefited from another delay, although honestly, I'm not sure that would have even saved it. Redfall is a game with some fundamental and just overarching design issues, and I'm not sure more time in the oven, unless it was a lot more time, would have helped fix those. But unfortunately, when it comes to Redfall, it's the outside factors that I think really serve to hurt it even more, and make what would otherwise be a disappointing game in a vacuum a much larger overall problem for Xbox when you consider the context. One of the first things that needs to be talked about is this review situation. Honestly, I think this is one of the worst parts of Redfall overall. It seems like, according at least to several of the reviews I listened to or read, that Bethesda and Xbox started sending out review codes for Redfall on Friday the 28th. I personally received my code late Saturday on the 29th. So on one hand, that means you literally only had the weekend to review the game. You could start on Friday and finish on Monday, but sorry reviewers, you have to do the bulk of...
And that's another thing. Like, you like, look, man, like, you know it's bad. When you do shit like that, you know it's bad. You only give motherfuckers like a weekend to review this game? You knew they were gonna have fucking gripes with it.
Of your work over the weekend if you want a review out by the embargo time, which is likely why several reviewers from major outlets like IGN did not publish finished reviews yesterday. And this also being despite the fact that Redfall is only about 15 hours in length. It's probably just a case of these reviewers not wanting to work all weekend to review this, and frankly, I can't blame them. Although, honestly, making reviewers' lives a bit difficult is not even all that uncommon. What makes this even worse again is the review embargo lifted at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday. You know what time Redfall released to the world? 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday. Meaning that Bethesda and Xbox not only gave people only one real business day to review the game, but they also made sure much of the community would already be playing the game by the time those reviews dropped, likely anticipating that the review scores would be bad. To me, this is a simple case of Xbox and Bethesda trying to make sure you are a less informed consumer. It really feels like this was just a case of you not reading reviews and instead...
He said it. He said it right there. Shit that fucking pisses me. This is why I won't fucking play. This is why I won't play your game when I see this shit like that. Like, why would I spend money on a game like this? Game Pass is great. It allows you to fucking like it's, you know, sort of like I don't know, like the GameFly or Blockbuster, really, or Netflix. You know, like, you can rent your game, play it for as long as you need to. Like, if you really like this game, if it's a game that you think you'll be playing for years to come, then you have the option to buy it. Games come and go on Game Pass, so it's not like you can play it forever. But I mean, I would rather pay, what is it, $14.99 a month, and be able to test out any game that comes across, and you know, and also you have YouTube, and you can see, like, you can't hide any more developers. The gone are the days where you can get away with it, and like more and more we are voting with our wallets. You know, why would I pay? No. Atomic Heart is a really good game for the price. Like there's just so much packed in. Like, you know, just the opening like scene or the opening gameplay is like, it shoves you right into it, and you know, like, it's a different aesthetic. It's a different continent that you're on. Like, you're in another country altogether. I mean, if you played Stalker, you might have been near the U.S. You know, you're in Ukraine, but it's different, and it's enjoyable. It's tough, but it works. I have not experienced anything that I would consider game breaking, or you know, like, this game isn't worth playing. As this game is pretty good. The boss battles are very satisfying. I did glitch one of them, or he glitched, and I just took advantage of it. I think it was like a Belly Ash. He got stuck in the corner, and I just fucking, like, I took advantage of it because I'm a gamer, and it's kind of things we do.
you would just jump onto Game Pass immediately and jump into the game and not hear the opinions of others. Rather than trying to own up to the type of game Redfall would end up becoming, it seems like they really tried to hide it as much as possible,
they really
which is
did.
not a good thing. Although Bethesda in the past definitely has had a short window from review release to game release, Redfall was the shortest ever, especially for modern games. Most of the other games from...
Yeah. You see that? I don't like how Ghostwire Tokyo feels all that much either. But still, at least they gave you time with it. Doom Eternal gave you 3 days to play. At least Deathloop gave you 12 hours to play before release. Redfall, the day of release. Like, the absolute moment of release is when they fucking lifted the embargo. They knew this shit was a hot plate of fucking steaming awful.
Bethesda at least had a couple of days between the reviews and the game release. Deathloop being one of the shortest over the past couple of years, with it just getting a 12-hour window, but still, that's way better than Redfall, which had a 0-hour window. The reviews and the game came out at the exact same time. And what exaggerates this even a bit more is Xbox and Bethesda really could have used a win here. We just got the news that the planned Microsoft purchase of Activision Blizzard is being blocked, and there is this general sentiment in the community of wanting more. Xbox needs more games, and based off the reviews, it doesn't really seem like Redfall is going to be that solution for a lot of players. And this failure to deliver on quality games on a consistent or even somewhat consistent basis has led to many people pointing the crosshairs at the head of Xbox, that with Phil Spencer, mentioning how, despite him being the savior of Xbox in the past, it may be approaching the time to move on from him. I don't necessarily share that sentiment, but you're definitely seeing it pop up in the community quite frequently after this Redfall launch. And one of the other fronts this narrative has gone down is concerns for Starfield. Following the release of Redfall, there's been a lot of doom and gloom posting around the future of Xbox overall. What seems to be happening is, as more and more people grow frustrated with Xbox, more stakes are being put on Starfield. Starfield is being viewed as the game that needs to prop up Xbox and really be a system seller for this year and years going forward. And although I definitely do understand that perspective, why the stakes for Starfield have been rising, the narrative has also expanded and really grown into concerns for Starfield and its development. There are a ton of users who, following the launch of Redfall, now have much less faith in Starfield, or even others who strongly feel the Redfall launch will lead to another Starfield delay. And I feel like this narrative is both unfounded but also understandable. Over the past couple of years, Starfield and Redfall have been closely attached. They were delayed in the same tweet. Xbox has been focusing on only showing near games, so lots of the Bethesda marketing has really just been Starfield and Redfall, and I think this has led to many fans associating the two.
Yeah, it worries me that they've already delayed Redfall a full year, and this is what they gave us. I don't know. Like, doesn't look promising, guys. I'm sorry.
Of them, despite the fact that, of course, Redfall and Starfield are being developed by two completely separate teams. Redfall is an Arcane Studios title, while Starfield is a Bethesda Game Studios title. And I mean, yeah, on one front, both of these games are being published by Bethesda Softworks, but the actual game development is being handled by completely separate companies with completely different leadership. If their concerns were on the marketing side, which is often handled by the publisher, I would get that. Like, even just in an example, the Redfall review situation. That shady review embargo definitely made me concerned for Starfield, because it would likely be the same exact people and same company handling the reviews for Starfield. With as big of a game as Starfield is set to be, I really hope you have more than just a couple of days to review it, and even further, I hope that the reviews go up in advance of the release of the game. But when it comes to the actual game and its development, I don't think the Redfall launch has much impact on Starfield at all. And for me personally, I don't feel more concerned about Starfield due to Redfall, and I don't think you should either. Perhaps the negative Redfall perception leads to Starfield getting delayed a couple of months to November. I think this can make sense if they need some extra polish time, because they really need to nail the game. Otherwise, if you weren't concerned about Starfield
one other small detail. This is only just a feeling that I get, but it feels, I don't know, man. I get, It feels like Redfall was like a chunk of town that they just ripped out of fucking 76. Like maybe this was meant to be something for 76 and it didn't mesh well enough and they decided just to make it into something else. Sort of like how 76 was, wasn't it supposed to be multiplayer mode for Fallout 4?
I don't think you should be concerned about it now. The stakes are certainly higher when it comes to the Xbox fan loyalty and even Game Pass ongoing subscriptions, but on the development side, I think Starfield is going to be pretty isolated from Redfall. And honestly, for me personally, Bethesda Game Studios games don't even need to be all that great. If Starfield ends up getting a 70 on Metacritic, but does maintain an extensive modding scene and some Bethesda open world magic, I'll be pretty happy. I don't need Starfield to be the game of the year to be fulfilled by this one. And that's an opinion I've had for a while. I mean, if I look back at Fallout 4, I have had hundreds, if not thousands of hours of enjoyment with what is otherwise a pretty mediocre game. With that said, at the same time, the Redfall situation definitely marks a low point for Bethesda and Xbox. Although with Naughty 3 just a bit over a month away, hope is still there for a course correction, and if Starfield delivers, we'll probably forget about all of this in just a couple of months' time. But speaking of, did you know that Bethesda Game Studios actually has a ton more slated to release in 2023? Check out this video to learn about their fairly stacked calendar going forward. Okay. 2023 is here.
So let's take a look at what else is available besides Redfall now to wait to keep us possibly tied over until Starfield and I purchased Diablo 4 Ultimate Edition, so we will get the early access in June, and we will also be playing the Server Slam this coming, was it the 12th to the 14th? I'll just have to make sure I get enough sleep. I won't be playing for a long, well, let's see, Friday night, so it depends. Like if things open Friday morning at 12, no, it probably won't open until like 8 a.m. Friday morning for the Server Slam. But I'll be able to play Friday night. I don't have to be to work until was it till 11 on Saturday? So as long as I get up by 9, I should be okay. But yeah, I did buy the full Ultimate Edition, the $100 edition, because it's worth more to buy the second edition, the middle tier one, because that's where you do get the early beta days, or not beta, but the days like before launch, and if I'm already going to pay like 89 or 70, whatever it is, I might as well get the Ultimate Edition, so I get everything else that comes with it. And since I've already played the game and I know it's good, I'm okay with paying for it. That's what I'm saying. Like if you give us a taste of the game and we know that it's worth paying for, then sure, then we'll pre-order. That's not. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you want somebody to pay $100 for a game that you won't have access to until release day, and you've forbidden anybody who you've given a copy to even talk about it until release day, like that's some shady fucking shit, Bethesda. It's not good looks.
And at least on paper, this is going to be the biggest year ever for Bethesda Game Studios. And when I mean biggest, I don't necessarily mean as far as sales figures go. I mean, that could also happen. But what I'm really talking about here is they are slated to release more new things this year than any other year for the company, at least as far as I can tell. Starfield, of course, is the big one, but also quite a few other things are on the way from Bethesda Game Studios, some of which are really good and exciting, and some of which you're definitely not going to like, and I think a fair few of you will get your pitchforks out for. So in this video, I want to catch you up on what should hopefully be an absolutely incredible year for Bethesda Game Studios, including some of the recent leaks and rumors around the company, like the January event. One of the really bizarre things about the Game Awards 2022 was the complete lack of presence by Xbox and Bethesda. Now, Xbox skipping one event.
And in case you're interested, this is generally who I watch to get my video game news. Him and Mr. Matty Plays is usually the people that I look forward to. Open world games too. I'm recording. Okay,
that's for you.
Cool. Oh, I've fought him before. It's a mole miner from Fallout 76. Bobby just got me one of those. That's pretty cool. Thank you, Bobby. Yeah. That's pretty cool. I can add him up to the collection. Serpentor now has a friend. At some point, I'm gonna have to get a pop shelf or make some more room. So, oh hey, buddy. This guy. This is Helmet. He's only visiting, but he was born in my home. Hi, buddy. It's okay. I got you. I got you. I got you. He doesn't really like to be held all that much. There you go, buddy. Thank you for visiting. Oh. He's really very sweet, but he's had some physical trauma in his youth, so he's kind of weird about things. But he's a sweet boy. Oh, nice! Hell yeah, man. So let's get back into here. Yeah. New
isn't really that big of a deal, but what made it a bit crazier, a bit of a bigger deal, is the timing of it all. Xbox and Bethesda's Naughty 3 2022 was basically themed around all of the games shown here would be coming out in the next 1 year. So everything showcased would release by June 13th, 2023. And despite the fact that that still seems to be true, quite a few big ones don't have release dates. The new Minecraft games, Starfield, Redfall, one of the Game Awards being the last big event of the year, just seemed like, okay, we'll get a bunch of release dates here, right? Except we didn't. But almost immediately after the Game Awards ended, we started to get some rumors that Xbox and Bethesda would instead be hosting a January reveal event to give updates on some of their projects, like Starfield, Redfall, and Forza. The first hint came from the VP of Game Marketing at Xbox, saying on Twitter, "We will not have to wait long for what's next," trying to reassure fans that they seemingly had something in the works or some plan for something. Otherwise, typically the wait would be all the way until June, until E3 2023. But a bit more hopeful, shortly after that, we also heard from the very reliable Xbox insider Jez Corden, where he said in an article that he heard some tentative and unverifiable rumors that Microsoft may be exploring some kind of event for Q1. And then we have the latest news from a random Reddit post. Yeah, things started off super reliable, but now we're getting to crazy random leaks territory. Either way, some guy in Reddit made a post saying that Redfall Early Access will come on April 28th with a full release on May 2nd, and how Starfield will likely launch before Redfall, and continuing on in a second post about how an Xbox showcase will occur in January, later this month, as well as some details on Tango Gameworks' new game, as well as new content for Ghostwire Tokyo. So in the leaked tier list, random Reddit post is pretty bad. I would actually say it's a step below random 4chan post, but this does have one thing going for it, in that Jez Corden did come back around to actually confirm that at least the Redfall release date does seem to be accurate from this post. But taking it all together, it does seem like there is at least a decent chance we get some kind of Xbox and Bethesda event in Q1 and potentially even in January. In just a couple of weeks, we could be seeing releasing new details on all of these upcoming games. And what has added quite a bit of steam for this, especially in the Starfield community, is in the past couple of days, it seems like the support page for Starfield has gone live on Bethesda's website. Now, it's actually hard to tell if this was here before. As far as I can tell, this is a new thing that was just recently added. And some of the articles on here were definitely edited just today. And at face value, a support page for Starfield, not really that big of a deal. We can see it does reiterate a release date of the first half of 2022. Nice. There's places for feedback to be provided on the game. But the big thing to make note of here is some of the entries on the sales of the game, such as support for purchasing the game and even support for getting a refund for your purchase, which is a bit of a big deal because technically, as of right now, you can't actually pre-order Starfield. Now you gotta find a place to put it. The support page is going live. Maybe that means an event is coming and pre-orders will be going live soon as well.
Yeah, but he's going to share that same spot with Jeremy's clear coffee pot.
You have a pretty stacked 2023.
Does it?
It's almost certainly going to be some pretty big controversy. Skyrim is seemingly going to be getting a new update and DLC.
Well, the microwave is a lot smaller than the last one too. Yeah.
For the full details on this, but the short version of that is there's a new branch.
All right, so we have an air fryer now.
SteamDB, and this is labeled as Marketplace. It was added in November of 2022. If you combine this Marketplace listing with some of the recent quotes from Todd Howard and how he wants to help modders turn modding games into more of a career, as well as a former Creation Club member actually mentioning earlier in 2022 that Creation Club would be coming back in a different form.
I just want to play the games. That's all I want to do.
A paid mod service for Skyrim, or at least that's my prediction. Again, I encourage you to watch the full video if you want all of the details on this. The naming Marketplace doesn't really seem like a coincidence, as it'll likely be very similar to Minecraft Marketplace, where modders from the community can apply to join, and from there they can actually sell some of their mods or create things for this, and there's a profit share over how many things are sold. Nice. So though at this point I'm like 85% confident that this is a legit thing, it still is all speculation, and I do feel pretty confident that if this is legit, we'll see it released relatively early in 2023. I think this actually could be the first big release from Bethesda in 2023. I imagine it'll have a ton of backlash. It's going to be Bethesda's third attempt at paid mods, but who knows, maybe this time it'll be different. We technically don't even really know what kind of things will be included with this, although I certainly have my doubts over them pulling this off successfully. But another thing coming in 2023 that seemingly everyone has forgotten about is the Fallout 4 next-gen update. This is one of the strangest announcements to come in 2022 from Bethesda. There's a celebration for the 25th anniversary of Fallout, and just on one random post about this, we got a 2-sentence reveal of a Fallout 4 next-gen update coming in 2023. It's going to have some of the basics you expect from a next-gen update, 4K resolution support, as well as higher frame rates being officially supported, which there's not many details shared, but if this means you can properly play Fallout 4 with an unlocked FPS, with your FPS
would y'all go to Walmart?
Tied to the in-game physics system, that would be a huge update and incredibly handy. But what I found to be far more exciting was the reveal of this was having some bonus Creation Club content. So now this bonus Creation Club content could be a decently large deal. Maybe. On one hand, it could just be some of the already released Creation Club content for Fallout 4 being released for free, but alternatively, do you remember Skyrim Anniversary Edition? When that launched, there was a ton of never-before-seen Creation Club content to release with it, and I think something similar will happen with the Fallout 4 next-gen update. The last time we got a proper and full Creation Club release was in late 2019. It's not entirely clear why Creation Club ended, but work actually continued on things for Creation Club after 2019. We heard how there was a targeted holiday 2022 launch for some new items, but that never actually happened, and although the post has since been taken down with the rest of Bethesda's forums, we also got an update in early 2021 that work was still being done on both the Fallout 4 and Skyrim side. So of course,
that's the glow, isn't it?
that never actually happened, and although the post has since been taken down with the rest
glow,
of Bethesda's forums, we also got an update in early 2021 that work was still being done on both the...
Yeah, that's the glow. I think. I mean, they look like the bridges. Well, no, that could just be fallen bridges, but yeah. What? No, is that just a tree?
Fallout 4.
don't see any buildings submerged.
And the Skyrim side. So of course, when it came to Skyrim, all of that Creation Club content seemed to get released with Anniversary Edition, but some of the stuff that was unreleased for Fallout 4 could be coming with this next-gen update. Now, how big or how small
hey, viewer, how you doing?
Things are coming, completely unknown. But at the very least, in 2023, it seems like there's a decent chance
I miss the experience of playing Skyrim, but I can never go back and play that game because I've already plundered it so deeply and thoroughly. Not unless there was, no, I can never go back and do that. I spent too much time in there.
Actually get some new content from Fallout 4 in an official capacity from Bethesda. But speaking of Fallout...
And ESO doesn't feel like Skyrim. It just doesn't. It no matter how hard you try, it still feels like an MMO, and I couldn't get into it.
We also do have Fallout 76, which is very likely to begin to see a bit of a resurgence, or at least that's my prediction. Some big changes are coming to that game. The overpowered legacy weapons are likely to be removed, finally. This is supposed to come at the end of 2022. The update was delayed, so hopefully early in 2023 it will be released and the broken weapons will be removed. But also, just recently, there have been some entries around...
Actually, I think this might be an older video from...
In the files, you can find listings like BNet mod categories to store filters mapping. This seemingly referring to Bethesda.net and
wow, this was 3 months ago.
So perhaps we could start to see some cosmetic mods for Fallout 76
I still want to hear what's going on with...
Though both of those things, legacy removal as well as mods, are long requested features for Fallout 76.
So the legacy mods, the legacy mods are the legacy weapons are definitely gone by now. And
is how much content the game is getting overall, as Fallout 76 has recently gotten several additional support studios added on top of it. Bethesda Game Studios is still seemingly the core studio at Bethesda working on the project, but the last major update that Fallout 76 got was Nuka World on Tour, and based on data mining, it seems like a lot of that content was actually created by Double 11. Double 11 was the support studio that was brought on either late in 2021 or early in 2020.
So, as far as Fallout 76 goes, you need a new campaign for the high level players. For anybody that is up in their double digits, we need a high level campaign, like a big, sprawling, secret filled, like all the fucking bells and whistles. Like, we need a campaign that's going to keep us busy. I don't care about events because most of us have fucking jobs. We have lives and we have things to do. But if I can go back, if I can go in and I can continue on a campaign that is sprawling and filled with quests that we need to do, that is all along, I don't even care if it's still in the same Appalachia. If you just fucking make some new shit, somebody's been doing something over here, and just give us a new campaign. I don't stop drip feeding. You have this whole fucking world here. Like, if you don't want to put things in the places that you've already created, which most of the time you don't do anything with, they're just there, just fucking empty and fucking with the same enemies. You could do something new with them. There's plenty of shit that can come out of the ground, or people can come here looking for research opportunities and fucking experimental, weapons and fucking stuff that people don't want you to find. There's plenty to do. You could even have West Tech involved. They're fucking always creepy and fucking evil. You could fucking have them go and fucking be up to something new. Or maybe one of the satellites in space that they have fucking starts acting up, or something. You're a fucking major-ass studio. You have this gigantic game that you obviously don't want to die. So please do something serious with it. Please. Either that, or give us Fallout 5. And be done with the motherfucking fakery. I'm just, fuck, man. This is one of your most valuable IPs, hands down, man. Why? Why would you just be so indifferent to fucking to making your game better? Hell, all of your games better. We know what you're capable of, Bethesda. Come on.
T2. Even beyond that, we recently found out that Sparrowsoft has been helping out with the game for a couple of years now, and also Skybox Labs appears to have come on to Fallout 76 in 2022 as well. There's actually been no official announcement around Skybox, but if you go on their website, you can see Fallout 76 listed, so seemingly they're working on the game, and to me this is exciting because it could mean bigger updates more frequently, which is one of the biggest issues over the past couple of years for Fallout 76. If Nuka World on Tour was really made mostly by Double 11, Bethesda Game Studios Austin has been working on something for some months now. And then there's also whatever Skybox is working on. Perhaps they're just helping out with the other updates, or maybe there's even a third team working on something else. It's not entirely clear, but 2023 could definitely end up being one of the biggest years in a long time for Fallout 76. And although it's not going to be directly from Bethesda Game Studios, we also have to mention the Fallout TV show. It's very likely we at least get a trailer and potentially even just the full release of the show in 2023. Much of the filming went on throughout 2022. I made a bunch of videos on it. We saw set photos, leaks, even videos of some of the sets.
Everybody's
right at the end of the year, we got the first official teaser photo of the show. So more details on the show are almost a given for this year, but again, it seems pretty plausible that we could actually get the release of the show later in 2023, and there could be some nice possibilities with a cool tie-in to Fallout 76 to go along with that. And overall, despite a new Fallout game still likely being years upon years away, it seems like 2023 may end up being one of the biggest years for Fallout content since 2018 with the release of Fallout 76. Although, even beyond that, we also do have this mobile game that Todd Howard just talked about.
And we have a new mobile game that we're working on that we haven't announced yet that I'm in love with.
Back in 2018, Todd Howard mentioned during an interview how he wants Bethesda going forward to always be working on some kind of mobile game. The same way they're always working on a AAA game, he wanted to treat mobile games the same way. It seems like that was a big reason we saw Bethesda Game Studios Montreal get added to the company. Well, if they stuck to that, it's definitely been pretty quiet, because the last mobile game we saw from Bethesda was The Elder Scrolls Blades in 2019. But this new mobile game that Todd is in love with is very likely Spy Team. This is a trademark that was filed a while ago, and Heavy008 on Reset Era said this was a pet project of Todd's. It was being prototyped by Bethesda Game Studios Dallas before they were put on Starfield, and outside of that, we don't really know much. Heavy008 was confirmed to be a former Bethesda Game Studios employee who just really didn't understand how an NDA worked. But whatever Spy Team ends up being, if that even is this mobile game Todd Howard is in love with, there aren't really any other details around it. The naming of Spy Team definitely makes it sound like it's a new IP, not tying into Starfield as many people suspected, but rather some other standalone project. Although with how long they've seemingly been working on this game, it seems pretty plausible that it could end up coming out in 2023 as well. But of course, the final major reason 2023 will be massive for Bethesda is Starfield itself, which is shaping up to be a mobile game. Huge
maybe that's what he's talking
about. Lines of dialogue in particular, I think, are the big clue that something special is coming here. Starfield's going to have more lines of dialogue than Fallout 4 and Skyrim combined. And that's without a voiced protagonist, which of course is a ton of that Fallout 4 dialogue. We don't currently have a concrete release date for Starfield, but if their previously stated release window is true, we'll be playing the game in less than 6 months. It's assuming that Starfield would be the center of a potential Q1 or January showcase from Xbox, and frankly, I think that makes a ton of sense. And who knows, maybe the release date isn't even at the end of that 6-month window, but maybe it's something like March or April, in which case we're just a couple of months away from getting to finally experience this game. Hopefully in this video I made it abundantly clear why 2023 is shaping up to be insane and massive for Bethesda Game Studios. They have an unprecedented number of releases slated for this year, to the point where I think we'll likely be talking about something that came out every couple of months. Some of these will of course be pretty small, like Fallout 4's next-gen update or even paid mods for Skyrim, but then you also have some of the big ones like Starfield that is just looming there, coming out at some point soon. And although I'm really just
yeah, that's. I wanted to give his video its due. I wanted to watch it, like the whole video, but I'm really disappointed in Redfall. I will go back and play it once they have ironed out some things, but I'm not worried about it right now. Penguin Zero, this trash is $70. Yeah, if you want to look at that, go check out Penguin Zero. He's already got his opinion on it. Like I don't see my opinion like is like even if it isn't as bad as people say, it's still really bad. You know, for people to say that, you know, this game is bad on release. Like that's that. Okay, so now we turn to something that is we're still waiting for Night City. Um, I forget what the DLC is called, but something Liberty, Phantom Liberty. We're still waiting on that. I can't wait. That's one of the ones I'm looking forward to this year. But today we're going to learn about Johnny. Well, you probably, if you've played Cyberpunk, you know who Johnny is. But this is who he is as a Cyberpunk character, not just in the game.
Previously on this series of Legends of Night City, we would go on to tell the story of the sadistic cyborg that would kill anyone in his path and would absolutely love doing it. Being made of pure cybertech with just a few bits of human left on him, this man would be known as Adam Smasher, and on top of him, we would also explore his arch nemesis, the meatbag he tries to engage in combat with every time he can, Morgan Blackhand, one of the finest mercs.
I would very much like Morgan Blackhand to make an appearance in the new expansion. He was heavily alluded to in the game. Cyberpunk did something a bit different from Fallout 76. Fallout or Cyberpunk played with my feelings because, they, for the most part, they delivered, in my opinion, on the game. The performance department, sure. But I didn't have too many issues with my playthrough. I wish I had that. I wish I had a YouTube channel when I was doing that. But I thoroughly enjoyed my time with Cyberpunk. I really, really did. And I went and tried to find every secret that I could during my playthrough, and it's just a fun game to go and mess with. It's a fun game to drive in. It's a fun game to go and okay, so let's say you just want to clear out the map of the gang violence, the police scanner things. It's fun doing that. I wish there was more of it. I wish there was it was a little bit deeper. But the game was very entertaining. Some of the side quests, I don't know if anybody ever going to see it, but CD Projekt Red, if you're ever watching this, quit doubting yourself and go the whole hog. Just this game was good, and you should have just made it as expansive as you wanted to. Especially if you knew that the problems were going to happen with consoles being able to do it. You should have just you should have been planning this from the start, and you should have just tried to make the game as fucking chunky as possible instead of trying to do what you did. It was good, great. The execution, it didn't impact me as much as it did other people. But I wish you would expand the side content. I wish you would have made the side content deeper. The little touches in the way out spots, I like them. I wish there were more of them. It is obvious in the desert regions and some of the other regions that you were planning for us to go there. I would like that to be a reality. I like your game, CD Projekt Red. I really do. I'm here for it. Oh. So, ladies and gentlemen, say hello to Mr. Helmet. He used to be one part of a set of twins. Yes, he does have, well, he was supposed to have a lion cut, but they kind of clipped his mane too close to his head. So now it's more of a poodle cut. But yeah, this guy, he's an original. He was born here, and I love him. A good boy. Hmm? Huh? Hmm? You had your moment in the sun. You're good. Hmm? All right. So Morgan, I want to see him. This is where I got off tangent. I got off tangent because Morgan Blackhand. There are several references to him in this game, from the hacking side and also from not that, yeah. Like there's just been heavy references throughout, and I wished that some of the quest lines had been fleshed out a little bit more. Yeah.
The Edgerunner landscape. But as we explored both of these stories, there was one factor that stood out in both of their stories. A rogue element that would take their tales and shape them a bit differently, making him out to always be the hero in all of their tales. For both Morgan and Smasher, this individual would play a part in their stories and would shape their destinies going into the year of 2077. So who is this individual? Well, it is the iconic individual loved by many back in the early 2010s and 2020s, the lead singer of the anarchist rock band known as Samurai. This individual is the one and only Johnny Silverhand. But what is his true story? Or is that too hard a question to answer? Where did he grow up? What is his history and what are his tales? Well, in today's video, we will continue on exploring the legends of Night City and try and attempt to tell the backstory of this iconic rocker boy and lead protagonist of the modern Night City tales. This is the story of the proud anarchist and rocker boy Johnny Silverhand from Cyberpunk. Johnny Silverhand was born under the name Robert John Linder within College Station, Texas, on the 16th of November 1988. Not much is known of Johnny during his childhood years, with no information about his parents or guardians. However, when Johnny got to teenage years, he quickly signed up to serve his country, lying to the recruitment officer about his age.
I'm older than Johnny Silverhand.
Definitely got in. Getting into the army, it didn't take long for Johnny to see some action, as he was immediately sent to Nicaragua to take part in the Second Corporate War within the year of 2003. Johnny's war was pretty horrific, and when fighting on the front lines, it was almost certain that he was going to be killed in battle. However, after losing an arm and lying there thinking his life was about to come to an end, a friend would step in and save his life. But this would come at a cost, as his friend would sacrifice his own life to save Johnny's. Mourning his friend, Johnny had to continue fighting in this corrupt and manipulative governmental war, and Johnny could really see how horrific it had become. But it didn't take long before the government's military secrets were exposed publicly, and now knowing what was going on within this war and behind the scenes.
Oh, and I would also like access to more buildings. CD Projekt Red, you put a lot of buildings in this game, and not one motherfucking one of them is accessible. What the fuck?
Many of the American soldiers dropped their weapons and their national flags and hit back against their country the only way they knew how, by deserting the military and refusing to fight for them ever again.
I also heard Jedi Survivor is a fucking mess too. Frame rates at like 15 instead of anywhere near 30.
Again. But the government wasn't having any of this, and back on home soil, propaganda campaigns launched to make it look like the soldiers were the ones to blame, and that the people should know who was costing their country. This indeed worked, as many of the unknowing public would go on to hate those who deserted the military and publicly shamed them.
You know, humans need like 24 frames a second to see motion. Like that's how, like, to see a continuous motion. So you can imagine how trying to play a game at 30 frames per second for most people is fairly unfucking comfortable, because we're used to seeing things at a much faster rate. Like my buddy Darren was telling me, he was asking, he was like, how do you move with the mouse on screen that fast? And I was like, well, that's how I've grown up. Like, how, you know what I'm saying? Like, the Twitch movement, Twitch, the split second hand-eye coordination that has been required for playing games with the mouse, and having the higher refresh rate definitely makes things more comfortable to look at when you're moving at high speeds, because we can process quite a bit. Our brain sees all of it. We may not always be aware of everything, but it's all going in here. We process all of it on a passive level, sort of. It's like I don't know if it's the same, but you ever been like driving and you zone out for a hot second, and you zone back in, and you've just been driving along, everything is fucking hunky dory, but you are highly aware that you were not driving there for a second.
If they could. Johnny was amongst one of the many soldiers who went against their country's government, as he had lost an arm and a true loyal friend thanks to their lies. After leaving the war and becoming a hated member of society, Johnny would head for Night City and would go on to stay within a hotel for a whole month. And whilst there, he reflected back on his time within the war and realized he had to change going forward. Here he would change his name to Johnny Silverhand, as he had just got himself a replacement cybernetic arm to replace the one he had lost in the war. With this new identity, Johnny knew he could not just sit back and watch the government get away with what they had done, and with this new goal in life, he would begin his mission of rebelling to expose all of the world's corruption, setting up a rock band that would spread this message that would eventually be named as Samurai. His first member to join the band was his old friend, Kerry Eurodyne, who had been playing within small backstreet clubs for years. As the band fully set up, their first gig would be within the red dirt within Night City.
I do like the follow-up missions with Eurodyne after the game is, well, after you've done everything, and where you can see Johnny making his decision. Yeah, like it's pretty cool. I do like. There were a lot of things this game did right for me. I wasn't as bothered by the crude AI. Not crude. It like, it could be better, but it didn't bother me as much. Things were sufficiently hard sometimes. I liked this game. It's a good point in my life.
The band continued for a few years completely independent.
I like when you got to go and pick out a new guitar. That was pretty cool.
Until the year of 2003, where they would be approached by a producer known as Jack Masters and would go on to sign them up with Universal Recordings, now with their full lineup of Johnny, Kerry, Denny, Nancy, and Henry. With this new record label signing, the band would reach all new heights and a new era started, one of rebellion, with Johnny himself starting the Rockaboy movement, allowing Samurai to become an overnight sensation, reaching the top of the US charts charts breaking records. But behind the scenes, the band was not holding together well as personal issues started affecting each member, making it to the news on some occasions. One main example of this involved Nancy, the band's keyboard player, who found herself in an extremely abusive relationship. Suffering from this for years, she eventually had enough and would go on to kill her abusive boyfriend by pushing him out of a window. It didn't take long before the NCPD showed up on the scene and arrested Nancy for murder, sending her straight to prison. This event majorly affected Samurai, and the months that followed her arrest, the band struggled to continue, forcing them to break up within 2008. But despite the breakup, Johnny would still go on to be regarded as one of the most popular musicians around, and he himself knew people saw him as such. With this in mind, Johnny felt he could use that star power to set up his solo career and continue to push his messages about overthrowing governments and corporations. But with him now on his own away from the rest of the Samurai, he would be a prime target for companies trying to milk his star power for money, with one record label known as DBS Music so desperate to sign him that they would start blackmailing him by threatening to reveal his true identity as a deserter of the Second Central American conflict to the general public who loved him so much. But Johnny did not cave to this threat and instead signed once again to Universal Music, releasing his first solo album titled Sins of Your Brothers, in which he himself would tell his listeners about his past of being labeled as a deserter, and also listing why he chose to go against the government, as well as why he is on the particular path he is on now. As the 2010s was now approaching, Johnny had completely changed the world thanks to his first ever solo album. He had now opened people's eyes to what a deserter really was, and thanks to it, the public perception of him and many others had changed to something a bit more positive, and anger was shifting back onto the government and corporations. But this was just the start of his campaign. Johnny now knew he had people willing to follow him into his battle, and now as the decade was ending, it was time to step it up that little bit further. As Night City went into the 2010s, Johnny continued on.
Johnny's story was a good story to tell.
His rebellious campaign, and after a wave of brutal attacks by the NCPD on the homeless riots to quell them, Johnny would target his movement where the riots were going on, within the heart of Japantown. During this time, Johnny also found himself in a pretty awful relationship with a girl named Rogue. This relationship found the two always fighting, but then coming back to each other. However, in 2011, this relationship fully broke down as Rogue found out that Johnny had been cheating on her. 2 years after this event, Johnny would find himself within a new relationship that was much like all of his other relationships, filled with lies and fights. This time it was with the extremely smart netrunner known as Alt Cunningham. But as Johnny played a concert at the Hammer on the 4th of August in that year, Alt would go on to break up with Johnny and attempt to leave him for good. This worked at first, but Johnny was having none of it as he followed Alt outside and tried to convince her to come back with him. But during this time, Johnny and Alt would find themselves surrounded by a small gang of thugs who were attempting to capture Alt. Johnny tried to fight them off at first, but it was no good. They were majorly equipped with military-grade cyberware and overwhelmed Johnny, stabbing him.
They had knives.
2 blades. With Johnny out of the picture, the thugs could capture Alt and would take them back to those who had hired them for the job, that being the corporation of Arasaka. Arasaka needed Alt as she had been responsible for the early creation of the software known as Soulkiller, and with her working within Arasaka, she could help develop it into a brand new variant, one that would be a deadly weapon in the wrong hands. Johnny learned quickly who was responsible for this kidnapping and sought to hit them back hard and fast, and on the 5th of August 2013, Johnny would go on to assemble a small strike team that would consist of his ex, Rogue, a media reporter Thompson, and a legendary nomad named Santiago Aldecado, and altogether they would go on to infiltrate Arasaka Tower in Night City to save Alt from whatever fate they had planned for her. But it wasn't just this crew, as Johnny would also ask some of the members of his old samurai band to help cause a distraction, as they were going to perform a free concert in front of the iconic tower to help start a riot against the corporation. With this riot going on, Arasaka troops would then be sent in to deal with the situation, making it easier for Johnny and his strike team to go and save Alt. The plan worked a treat as they were able to breach the tower with barely any resistance holding them off. But some members of the tower knew what was going on, as when Johnny and his team reached Alt, Toshiro Arasaka Arasaka was there with her, trying to negotiate with Johnny, but also just before that would use the new Soul Killer software on Alt to trap her into the Arasaka mainframe. Whilst Johnny mourned over the loss of Alt, checking her body and finding that it was lifeless, Alt was still alive within the mainframe, desperately trying to get out and communicate with Johnny, but it was no good. She would be there forever. With Alt laying dead on the chair, Johnny wasted no time in killing Toshiro, giving him no real chance to plead for his life. After that, he would go on to gather Alt's still warm body and disconnected her, allowing her to be free from Arasaka's torture, or so he thought anyway. After this tragic loss, Johnny left Night City for good.
Yeah, he fucked up when he disconnected her.
Just witnessed, and to be free from the brutality of the corporations and government who were still up to the same actions that angered Johnny in the first place. Johnny traveled for a while until he finally decided to join the Aldecado's nomad community, maybe taking guidance from Santiago or just knowing they were the best place for him to hide from the corporations and the law. This worked a treat for Johnny, as during this whole time no information was recorded for what he did within the Aldecados or what plans he made. He was completely silent and away from the spotlight. The only notable thing that happened during this time to Johnny was in 2015, where one firefighter named Samantha Stevens would go on to save him from a fire that occurred in one of his studios. You could speculate what caused this fire for weeks. Could it have been a falling out with some of the nomads? Could it have been an attempt made by the law to grab him? Could it have been Arasaka trying to take him out for good? Or was it simply Johnny falling asleep with a cigarette in his mouth? Who knows? But thanks to Samantha Stevens, he would go on to live another day, ready to take on whatever was next. But the year was now 2023,
I wonder how he felt about
and this
that.
is where Johnny's story starts to get a bit confused. But this is most likely how it went. With Johnny still being on a campaign against the Arasaka Corporation, he would find himself enlisted by the American Armaments Corporation named Militech, with a fellow merc that had been renowned all over the world named Morgan Blackhand. Together these two would assemble another strike force that would take their Militech gear and assault the Arasaka Towers in Night City to recover important pre-data crash data, and in the worst case situation, taking the tower out with a mini nuke. But despite the Fourth Corporate War triggering this attack, Johnny had other intentions for why he wanted to join Morgan for the assault. Johnny's reasoning was to go back in and try and find Alt once again within the Arasaka office mainframe. Separating into two different teams, Johnny would go on to lead Team Alpha, with Blackhand leading Team Omega. What happened within the tower all depends on who you believe. The first story states that whilst on their task, Johnny and his team came under fire and were pinned down by some of Arasaka's special forces, which included the cyborg known as Adam Smasher, after they had found Alt and were trying to escape the tower's labs. Being knocked down in these attacks, Johnny was able to get back up with a Militech SMG in one hand and his precious Malorian in the other, and began shouting and provoking Smasher, emptying everything from both guns into him. Smasher, however, was having none of it, as he could not believe the nerve of this rocker boy who truly thought he could take him down. Walking up to Johnny unharmed by his bullets, Smasher would pull out his auto shotgun and with one shot would cut Johnny in half. The strike team's netrunner Spider Murphy tried desperately to get Johnny to save him, but in the process was stopped by Rogue, who knew what had happened and told her that he was gone. In her last effort to help or communicate with Johnny, Spider would take out a data chip Alt had downloaded her a long time ago and would go on to insert it into the back of Johnny's skull, whispering to him, "I'm sorry, Johnny." But as she went to recover her data suitcase after this, she would go on to realize it had been destroyed in the crossfire. Devastated by what had happened, Spider and Rogue left behind their dead friend Johnny, knowing that one day in the future he would be avenged and Smasher and Arasaka would pay for what they had done. The other story, however, told of Johnny's bravery, in which he was able to amazingly survive the initial fight against Smasher somehow. However, the Silverhand engram does not disclose this information. Instead, it would show him get into the helicopter to escape the tower that was about to be blown up by the mini nuke planted by Johnny himself. But just before he gets on, Smasher would take him down and blow off his cybernetic arm, to then be captured by Saburo Arasaka himself and interrogated. Under their capture, he would then be subjected to their Soul Killer program, as his consciousness would then be scanned and stored on an engram. Whilst it is unknown what exactly took place within that tower, with both stories contradicting each other and Morgan Blackhand being unmentioned within Johnny's own memory, it is a fact that Johnny did not make it out alive, and that was all thanks to Smasher Smasher and his sheer brutality. Over time, his friends and contacts would forget about him and move on from their revenge mission, and the legend of Johnny Silverhand would sadly just be a tale of the past. Likewise with the band of samurai. Saying all that, however, there would be one place that marked his passing in Night City, and that would be within the North Oak Columbarium. Here his epitaph would use his full name and would state, Robert John Linder, son of a bitch who never gave up, a legend among legends. But that wasn't the last for Silverhand's story. Just after the Night City Holocaust that was triggered by the Arasaka Tower raid, a firefighter and Silverhand mega fan that had saved him a few years ago from his studio fire, Samantha Stevens, was able to get access into the hot zone of the city thanks to the help of a techie named Angel. During her exploration here, Samantha would go on to discover a non-detonated mini nuke within the wrecked bunker of the destroyed towers, and when finding this, would go on to toss it into the Del Coronado Bay. But at the same time, she would also go on to discover the last remaining pieces of Johnny's body in the ruins of the tower. Realizing how significant this was, she would go on to place it within the nuke's crate to preserve it. But on top of this, she would also go on to locate some of Johnny's possessions, including one of his Malorian 3516 guns, as well as his Porsche. As an avid collector but also mega fan, Samantha knew she had to do something with these items to protect them. Here she would place the nuke case inside her garage within Night City, and would go on to house and protect the items for years. Things didn't stop there for Samantha, as within the year of 2038, she would go on to discover a group of edge runners who were trying to get their hands on an unreleased song of Silverhand's. Seeing them as trustworthy people, she would task them with transporting the crate containing Johnny's body to Los Alamos Labs within New Mexico. But before they left, Samantha would take to the side one of the mercenaries she had come to like, a girl named Zara. Having a one-to-one with her, Samantha would hand her one of Johnny's Malorian firearms, which was wrapped in a lot of packaging, and told her to keep it. She was to be the new owner for this gun, as she or Johnny was never going to use it again, and Zara was the right person to carry it for him. Eventually, the edge runners would go off to transport the crate, and after a long trip, they would get to reach New Mexico City and deliver the crate to the techie Angel. Receiving the crate, Angel would open it up and witness the body of Johnny Silverhand, and seeing this sight, Angel would simply remark, "Hello, my love."
Yep.
Between the years of 2038 and 2077, stories about Johnny Silverhand died down once again. However, Adam Smasher, a newly transformed Borg who had been brought back by Arasaka with barely any human parts left on him anymore, was tasked with seeking out this rumored body of Johnny Silverhand as well as his possessions. It didn't take long for Smasher to find Johnny's body, however, as well as all the other items Samantha Stevens had found venturing into the hot zone. With Johnny's body, Smasher would go on to bury him just outside of Night City within the oil fields, placing concrete just above him and leaving no markers anywhere to make sure no one knew where he was. As for his pistol, Smasher would keep it for a time until passing it on to his left-hand man who worked with him at the Abenaki docks in Watson, named Jeremiah Grayson. As for the Porsche, Smasher would keep that for himself, also storing it within the containers at the Abenaki docks. The year was now 2077, and Johnny Silverhand, while still a lifeless corpse underneath 6 feet of concrete, was still out there. At least his soul was, as it had been contained within a prototype data chip named the Relic. On this relic, Johnny's engram would be housed with all of his personality that his friends had remembered from a time past. Originally, this chip would be safely housed with Saburo Arasaka. However, his rebellious son, Yorinobu Arasaka, would steal it from him and would go on to take it to his penthouse within Kobeki Plaza in Night City. The main reason for stealing it was to draw out his father into the public and face him one-to-one. For a while, this secret was safe, as Yorinobu would be heavily defended at all times by Adam Smasher. But at some point, the incredible netrunners of the gang, the Voodoo Boys, would discover this information and planned on stealing it for themselves so they could get into contact with the legendary netrunner that was Alt and have her help them in bypassing the black wall within the net. But as this group started planning, they would bring in a third party, Evelyn Parker, to help them brain dance the room for security measures, as well as just find the location. But Evelyn Parker did not stick to her word and instead betrayed the Voodoo Boys and seeked out a way to steal it for herself. In the end, she would go on to share this information with the fixer Dexter Deshawn and assemble a small team of 3, 2 up-and-coming mercs, Jackie Wells and V, as well as a netrunner named Tiva. As the raid went ahead on Yorinobu's penthouse, everything seemed to be going well until Yorinobu found himself with a guest. His plan had worked, and Saburo Arasaka, his father, had come to meet him in person. As V and Jackie Wells hid with the relic containing Johnny's engram within it, they would go on to witness the murder of Saburo by his own son and be the main suspects in his murder. As they desperately tried to escape, the relic would be heavily damaged, and the only way to save it from being destroyed was by inserting it into their shard slot in their head. For a while, Johnny's engram would start taking over Jackie, but as he was massively injured, Jackie didn't have long left anyway. In the last effort to save their job and also to say farewell to V, Jackie would give them the relic and insert it in their shard slot in their head, only triggering the takeover of Johnny's engram on V's brain. It would only be when V was shot by the man who gave him the job in the first place, Dex Deshawn, that the upload process would get worse and Johnny would start fully taking over control, torturing V in the process. But as time went on, Johnny realized that V was their hope at extracting revenge on Adam Smasher.
No, I'm never fucking having that
Arasaka
skin.
and Alt, as well as seeing his old friends of Rogue and Kerry once again. But with the data being uploaded straight into V's brain, they would be able to witness the events of the past, see all of Johnny's memories, or at least how he viewed the events of the past anyway. This would help V understand more about this legendary rocker boy who had appeared out of nowhere and started attacking their body. It would allow Johnny and V to create an inseparable bond where every decision they made was done by the both of them, with Johnny giving his input into everything that happened. But as V sought out a way to save themselves, they would have to decide whether or not they would help solve Johnny and his friends' problem.
Having Johnny wear those glasses kind of helped you disassociate Johnny from Keanu. You know, like the voice is still there, but you got used to the voice. It was just like the glasses helped you. Like, oh, this is Johnny. This is not Keanu Reeves playing Johnny.
Problems or go their own path and prioritize themselves. If V really wanted to, they could help Johnny every step of the way, and in return, Johnny would sacrifice himself to save V, allowing him to stay with Alt forever. However, if Johnny were to take over full control of V's body, he would go on to leave Night City, feeling grateful to be alive once again, but also sad that it had cost him a friend in V, whose consciousness would now be gone forever. In the end, Johnny will forever be remembered as one of the greatest legends of Night City, whether that be due to the events of the early 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s, with his music and anti-corporation and governmental messages, or due to his actions through the body of V in the 2070s. However people remember Johnny, he will always be a solid part of Night City's history within the 21st century. Maybe his journey will continue on, or maybe his and V's venture into Arasaka Tower would be the last we will ever see from him. Johnny's tale might be filled with lies, and maybe many stories are yet to be fully told truthfully, but that doesn't change the fact that he made a marker on this city, and many still remember his name to this date. And as his one and only marker within Night City says, Johnny Silverhand, aka Robert John Linder, was indeed a son of a bitch who never gave up. He truly is a legend amongst legends. And that is yet another legend from Night City explored. The absolutely brilliant Johnny Silverhand, who I felt was played really well by Keanu Reeves, and I'm really excited to see what's next for him and V within the Phantom Liberty expansion. Let me know what you thought of the video, and let me know what legend you'd like me to explore next. I'd like to say a huge thank you for watching, and a massive thank you to my patrons who support this channel and allow me to make these videos.
See, look, these got a lot of stuff. Fallout cancel location, Boulder Dome, that's Van Buren. Oh, he's got a lot of stuff from okay, Dead Space. Let's go to his videos and see what he's got. Let's see. So Boulder Dome, Van Buren, Church of the Dark Brotherhood. See, yeah, he's got stuff on the Central American War, Unification War. See, this is like, I wonder if these are going to play a part in the new expansion. It being the Phantom Liberty, like it feels like it's going to be more like American. Maybe I don't know. Not American. That's the wrong word. Actually, let's go ahead and look at the.
How many times you willing to get burned before you stop trusting someone? How many times you gotta take a bullet for these motherfuckers in the name of empty promises? Politicians, military runners, intelligence operatives, all the rotten fish in one fucking barrel in this dog town. Tell me you've got a plan.
Not a plan. A man. If there's anyone we can trust now, it's him.
Solomon Reed, FIA.
So, what do we do now?
Dogtown. Burn it to the ground is what we'll do. It's a simple choice. Them or us.
There we go.
Peace comes at a price. Someone's always got to pay.
I would really like to see him as James Bond. I promise you, it would work out. And it's a new protagonist, so yeah, this is gonna be good. $2023. All right. So Pancore jackhammer. That's a devastating gun right there, bro. Let's see if there's anything interesting on right now. When 4chan disturbed the internet at a lot of times. What's the difference between sativa and indica? Yeah, sativa is the upper, and indica is the downer. The easiest way to explain that. Flowers and sunshine, grilled cheese. Adam Smasher. Hacksmith Industries. He made a real lightsaber. That shit's ridiculously cool. The Fifth Corporate War and AI Invasion.
There are two major conflicts destined to occur within the Cyberpunk series that will likely come to fruition in Cyberpunk Orion. A fifth corporate war will sprout. and in the fog of war, the AI beyond the black hole will enact the plan we've been forming, a full-scale AI invasion. You heard me right, the sequel Cyberpunk Orion will take place during both a fifth corporate war and an AI invasion. Despite this being early speculation, I have a large catalog of evidence to provide throughout this video toward these two ideas. So hear me out.
Alright, so this is a theory. Okay, cool. Let's, I'm down for some speculation. This is one of my jams.
If you happen to be a fan of cyberpunk lore and theories, think about glancing at my other content and subscribing. There's a lot to learn about within this vast series that dates back to its original sourcebook in 1988. Let's begin. You might be questioning where I'd even begin to speculate on an installment that we've only been provided a name of. Even then, it's a placeholder name, so in reality we don't even know the final title. I believe we can make use of Orion though, just to cover as much ground as possible.
Sounds like a space.
I do want to state that there's only one relation I can find in the source books to the name Orion. This would be a group found in Cyberpunk 2020, the Orion Corporation. It's based in the USA and specializes in special ops missions and search/rescue situations. Though from my personal review over this corporation and its history, it's doubtful it holds a significant impact within 2077 and beyond, seeing as their last mention was in 2020. Ignoring this obscure connection though, there are two key takeaways from this title. The name Orion originates from Greek mythology, and of course is the inspiration behind the naming of the Orion constellation, okay? Who cares about some stars in the sky? We're here for cyberpunk. Well, yes, we are. And if we begin to piece together some events and evidence, we can realize the importance of a game being named after a constellation. It makes a foundational connection between Cyberpunk's sequel and outer space.
See?
The reasoning behind this holding importance goes beyond something like the Crystal Palace or moon exploration. Although, we all know it would be extremely cool to explore these locations. The next corporate war is likely to sprout as a result of conflict over dominance in outer space, among other possibilities.
Well, yeah, there's the spaceport that you can see in the distance in Night City. And I would very much like that to be going somewhere. That would be cool. Thank you very much.
We've seen this conflict slowly grow and really approach a breaking point in 2077. For those of us who have missed this portion of 2077 or need a refresher, there's a space group titled the European Space Agency, or ESA for short. It's the world's largest and most advanced spacefaring organization. They control the lion's share of all space-related activity. There's been a lot of stress and conflict over the ESA's power and orbit, and there's a relatively long history to the ESA, but it's not necessary to completely cover it in this video, though I may come back to it at a later time. You just need to understand that the ESA has an unrivaled presence in outer space that a lot of corporations envy. In 2077, though, a Militech operatives team discovered that the Arasaka Corporation had been hiding the fact that they had a mass driver on the moon.
Oh,
the
shit.
ESA maintained that was the only organization allowed to operate and own mass drivers, an edge they wanted to keep. The ESA called an immediate meeting to re-examine Arasaka's license in space affairs. A senior Arasaka counterintelligence operative in Night City ordered a cyber attack against the ESA during the voting session over whether to revoke Arasaka's license to bases in the Sea of Clouds on Luna. We actually can review a live recording of this meeting alongside even concept art. This meeting ends with the deaths of several council members, resulting in a delay on the vote.
Have a seat, Pete. Be right with you. We have to handle this voting issue before we lose our bases in the Sea of Clouds. They're about to begin. What's the situation? Yeah, just as we thought. You know what to do. Start now.
Oh, shit.
A clear net positive for Arasaka, and another success in its use of Soul Killer as an assassination tool. Now, this was a pretty bold move to be pushed by Arasaka. It's clear as day who the perpetrators of this attack were. and would only possibly lead to dangerous tension between the two sides. ESA clearly has Militech and even the Soviet Union as its allies. Already two extremely strong allies that would be forced up against Arasaka in its own. It's no secret that Militech wants war with Arasaka, and nothing more than to completely obliterate the mega corporation from existence. Besides this stunt they pulled with the ESA,
Yeah, there are a lot of
there's an obvious
Militech heavies
history
in Night
between the
City.
two that primarily sprouts from the Fourth Corporate War. But there's a war that happened shortly before 2077. It makes it abundantly obvious that a major war is soon to come. The Unification War. This was a conflict between the new United States and the Free States that occurred during 2069 and 2070. While this might sound like a war between governments on the surface, it can be quite deceiving. It is much more accurate to categorize this as a quasi-corporate war, seeing as just like the preceding Fourth Corporate War, the participation of Militech and Arasaka was essential. The war was finally concluded by a ceasefire signed in Arvin,
Because their
SoCal.
arm was provided.
However, both sides declared a victory for themselves and found the terms of peace largely unsatisfactory,
And private armories,
causing
too.
many to believe the outbreak of another armed conflict was only a matter of time. The Free States were obliged to forfeit their independent status, albeit only on paper, as they would remain autonomous in practice. Ultimately, the NUSA chose to accept the conditions of this peaceful resolution, rather than risk escalation of the war across the globe, resulting in potentially millions of casualties and, more importantly, a deep recession. This unsatisfying conclusion for all parties allows us to understand the already existing tension between Militech and Arasaka. It is not an old wound from the 2020s. It's fresh, only likely to get worse going forward. We can begin to piece this together as we look at the Phantom Liberty DLC. With collaboration between Militech and NUSA, there is clearly an ongoing power creep into Night City. Of course, we won't know the full details until its eventual release, but we do know that the outcome may not be so pretty. I covered this topic in a previous video as well. It is currently a possibility that Phantom Liberty provides Militech and NUSA an opportunity to strike Arasaka with V in a new ending. It's an interesting possibility, provided the outcome leading to an immediate corporate war. I suggest checking out the video when you get the chance. I will have it linked down below. So, we've set up the groundwork for the inevitable Fifth Corporate War, destined to bloom in the near future. This, however, isn't even the true threat the Cyberpunk universe faces. A corporate war is just that, a war, one of many that have occurred throughout history at the price of those under the control of greedy corps. The much larger threat is yet to come, yet to show its card, and has never been faced previously.
Yeah, so, what's her name is still beyond the black wall. And if Johnny is alive beyond the black wall, well, if he is still sentient beyond the black wall, he most likely would be into leading a war on Militech and Arasaka and all them motherfuckers, mostly Arasaka, but can you imagine him leading a bunch of rogue AIs back into the net? Holy hell. He might end up with Dark Souls before you know it.
The Fifth Corporate War will pale in comparison
I'm going to get Elden Ring at
to
some
the
point
AI
too.
invasion that is bound to occur in its
But I got to
life
finish
stream.
Atomic Heart
To completely
first.
understand where I am coming from, we first need to establish an understanding of Alt Cunningham,
Yes, Alt Cunningham. There we go.
Raish Barmas, Soul Killer, and the Data Crack.
You can find if you're playing Cyberpunk now, you can find Raish Bart Moss's corpse in the landfill, and along with Des, the fixer from the beginning of the game. You can find his gun. I think almost in the same place as Raish Bart Moss's body. Yeah, he's big. That's the cyber guy. I was confusing him with Black Hand earlier, with Allure and all that stuff. But yeah, he's one of the big ones.
Considered the most brilliant hacker in the net, Raich Bartmoss was a rogue netrunner who went out of his way to harass and undermine the corporation.
Yeah, he did. He gave him lots of motherfucking shit. Look at that. The biggest motherfucking names in the game, and you're motherfucking harassing them just as fucking. It's just this is a Sunday.
Which he viewed as ultimate oppressors of humanity. As a result, he lived most of his life on the run with corporate bounties on his head, and resorted to hiding in a disguised cryogenic freezer with life support tech and net access that he spent his final days in. Bartmoss created a rabid/data crash virus as a grand act of defiance against corporate control to be triggered in the event of his death. It was designed to breach all corporate data fortresses and unleash their data into the net for all to access. But it ended up having a very different effect. When the virus was released, it infected 78.2% of the net in a matter of months. Net traffic came to a grinding halt. Corporations lost billions as the stock market destabilized.
I don't like driving like that.
Huge amounts of data were corrupted, and countless military-grade artificial intelligence were unshackled and mutated into extremely dangerous entities. The nature of a data crash even allowed soul-killed pseudo-intellects to travel through what remained of the net unimpeded. Possibly a favor from Bartmoss to his old friend and fellow programmer, Al Cunningham. Netwatch, unable to reverse the damage or neutralize the AIs, decided to create the Black Wall, with the sole task of blocking off sections of the net that had been overrun by rogue AIs with ice, so that the rest of the net could be salvaged. It is revealed by various sources, though, that the Black Wall is not a firewall, but actually a powerful AI masquerading as ice, whose job is to keep out any rogue AIs it can identify from the secure net.
The Black Wall. What is it exactly? I mean, I know...
You know only what the Netwatch tell you. The final bastion against the post-war AIs. The great victory of humanity over chaos.
That would be your Saturday morning Netwatch propaganda.
But the Black Wall is an AI itself. The boundary condition let no thing pass through, either way. If the AIs thought like people, they would call it a traitor.
It is also referred to as a band-aid solution, due to the fact that the Black Wall, being an AI, could go rogue itself. So now we are left with a massive portion of the net rendered unusable, with the supposed big friendly AI blocking entire armies of dangerous AI out. The reliability and the alliance of the Black Wall is rather easily called into question, as we already have a shocking amount of evidence and examples provided to us that prove rogue AI have already gotten out of the old net. Now, whether this is through a breach or being let through, we can't be entirely sure, but nonetheless, it's unsettling. Looking past the fact that Al Cunningham got through with ease, the first of these examples come from the resident AI and taxi boy of 2077, Delamain. Most of us will remember the quest Don't Lose Your Mind, in which Delamain is infected by a virus and split into multiple rogue AI personalities. Within this quest, Delamain himself confirms he's from beyond the Black Wall if you do the Voodoo Boys questline before going to HQ. Normally, he would just refer to himself as somewhat of an immigrant, but if you do that questline beforehand, he will respond from beyond the Black Wall, and Delamain will say, beyond indeed. So yes, a taxicab AI is from beyond the Black Wall. It honestly makes this war sound like a walk in the park. This is unfortunately not the case. The true mystery of this AI invasion lies in the plains of Night Court and the Blue-Eyed People. Night Corp is a very unique corporation, as it puts its full attention on Night City and its affairs. The company is the largest contractor of public procurements within the boundaries of the city, building and renovating facilities such as roads, bridges, tunnels, metro lines, power plants, and so on. Night Corp is also known for their charities designed to aid the poor children of Night City and scholarship programs to benefit gifted youth. Jefferson Perales was among them. In 2077, we learned through a Night Corp employee and netrunner by the name Sandra Dorset that Night Corp had conducted testing using an AI to condition its own employees. The AI was designed to control not just their workers, but other figures Night Corp deemed useful to them. Listen to this Shard detailing the operation. The tests have come back successful.
Yeah.
The artificial intelligence, CN07, has proven itself capable of bypassing commercial, device-specific, and macro security systems accessible to Night Corp employees of the lowest ranks. None of the test subjects were aware that this experiment was being conducted on them. In compliance with the orders it was given, CN07 focused mostly on subject HK13, which at the time of...
So this is, in my opinion, this is like what's causing a lot of the cyber psychosis. Not all of it, but like they're yeah, like there's some shit going on. That's why I said some of the side quests and some of the lore in here is like it alludes to a lot of other things that is left unanswered in the game.
The experiment's commencement was classified as calm and empathetic. After a period of subliminal conditioning, as we predicted, HK13 began to display acute psychopathic behavior. The highlight was a dispute over coffee, during which HK13 strangled one of their colleagues, then jumped out of the 16th floor window of the research facility. We will soon commence the next phase of the procedure and install CN07 onto the devices of our actual target. Does this all sound familiar? Well, you wouldn't be blamed for thinking of the Perales questline in which B discovers that mayor candidate Jefferson Perales has been being brainwashed by his hired security firm. All of it tied into a shadowy organization, seemingly helmed by an even more mysterious figure, Mr. Blue Eyes. Near the end of the questline, they will receive a direct holo warning from an unknown caller, stating that no matter what V tells to Jefferson, nothing will change, and also warning them not to keep meddling in their affairs. The unknown caller will make it clear that they know about V's true nature and goals, referring to the Ingram problem. Mr. Blue Eyes will be present just across the meeting spot, on the terrace of a building, watching over the exchange. This questline would be the only time we visually see and hear from Mr. Blue Eyes besides the Crystal Palace ending. Though, that doesn't necessarily mean that this is all we know about him. Johnny Silverhand can comment that he believes this was all the work of rogue AIs with an inscrutable goal, which doesn't seem to be so far off from the truth. Seeing as Blue Eyes commonly is used to display a data transfer. With a constant glow, we can infer that there is a constant exchange of data, meaning that it's extremely likely an AI is being broadcasted into the body of Mr. Blue Eyes. The lore in the original Cyberpunk TTRPG even talks about urban legends of blue-eyed people who are rogue AIs that of Mr. Blue Eyes. The lore in the original Cyberpunk TTRPG, Silverhand can comment that he believes this was all the work of rogue AIs with an inscrutable goal, which doesn't seem to be so far off from the truth. Seeing as Blue Eyes commonly is used to display a data transfer. With a constant glow, we can infer that there is a constant exchange of data, meaning that it's extremely likely an AI is being broadcasted into the body of Mr. Blue Eyes. The lore in the original Cyberpunk TTRPG even talks about urban legends of blue-eyed people who are rogue AIs that have taken control of human bodies and are secretly manipulating the highest levels of politics and finance. A blue-eyed man behind a plot to control a political candidate, and likely a part of the mysterious Night Corp, happens to tick these boxes pretty well. We can even take this concept a step further when we look into Gary the Prophet. Gary can be seen throughout the campaign spreading various theories. Gary even mentions how blue-eyed people live in space and come down to Earth to control politicians. A clear connection being drawn of urban legends of Bread, the Net, and the manipulation of Jefferson. While spouting a theory that nomads are actually werewolves, Gary inadvertently offends two members of the Avocados, forcing V to step in and rescue him. With his life saved, Gary tells V that one of his implants allow him to listen to communication channels which he believes to be aliens. He guides them to what he believes to be a meeting site for the Lizardmen, though this turns out to be a meeting between Maelstrom members and two unidentified corpos. The importance of Maelstrom needs to be pointed out, as they are both a tech and rogue AI obsessed gang. If their disturbing cybernetics didn't make it obvious to you. V is able to recover a data chip from this meeting that, when decrypted, presents us with an unknown plan that is set to be executed. which only goes by the name Project Oracle. Further analysis in this
Yep,
name, though,
I got that one
an
in game
oracle by
2.
definition is a person through whom a god is believed to speak, furthering the idea that rogue AI are controlling humans and acting through them. When B returns from the meeting, they learn from one of Gary's supporters that he's been abducted by black-suited people with blue eyes, who took him into an AV and flew away to their quote-unquote mothership. Gary's friend tried asking for help from the NCPD, but the officers simply claimed Gary was sick and let him be taken away. It's unknown who these individuals were, but they were described by Gary's friend, Sue Glover, to be dressed as corporates and have blue eyes. Afterward, we can even find a niche in the columbarium dedicated to him. He knew too much, so they dealt with him. There's a clear connection to be drawn between these different quest lines. Gary the Prophet, Paralysis, Dandra Dorset, Night Corp, and Mr. Blue Eyes are all connected. Jefferson Paralysis, Gary the Prophet, and Mr. Blue Eyes even wear the same ring on their finger, except Mr. Blue Eyes is gold. The ultimate plan behind it all clearly being Project Oracle. I propose to you, after all this information, my theory on Project Oracle. I believe the Oracle is in reference to the Mikoshi merge with Alt. During our time in Mikoshi, we can understand that Alt plans to merge with all of the engrams contained within Mikoshi, alongside V or Silverhand. There's a clear purpose behind this that we never really end up questioning throughout our interaction with Alt. Silverhand really just wants it off. But I'd say this could in technicality be the second phase of the data crash that perhaps Spartmoss had always planned for. The creation of an ultimate hive mind, and therefore a reality in which the net and the physical world merge together, yielding complete control over both domains. It is a possibility that we see even Barmos return. While this is all of a speculation and information I can provide, I can assure every single one of you there's more to uncover. I believe all of this connects back to Cyberpunk's largest mystery, FF06B5. Now, I'm a lore and theory guy. I've never been much of a genius when it comes to these styles of code. One day we, the community, will figure out the mystery and solve what will inevitably take place in the upcoming Orion sequel. I will continue to keep you all updated as best as possible when it comes to Cyberpunk's vast lore.
Yeah.
I hope you all enjoyed the video. I end up diving into specifics a lot more than...
I don't really have a whole lot to add to this. Like, these are conclusions that I drew when I was playing the game, and it frustrated me greatly that I couldn't get answers to some of the questions that I had. Whatchamacallit? Johnny went to be with Alt. I went to be with Judy and the Aldecados and have some sort of new life. So maybe this one will be something to do with the engram that was on Johnny's body. Because we hear Johnny in the background talking, like, during the trailer, and somebody's actually talking to him. So is he in somebody else's head now, or are we still V, or are we the new guy that we saw in the trailer? Are we him? It's I don't know. We'll see. It does make me want to play. Maybe we'll step into. April 20th, hot fixes. Among others, fixes to my friend Cleveland, current area, final quest. Now Snake gray out with patch when patches update won't change this picture. Maybe it's so effect. Okay. The problem is that I really don't want to start a new game of Cyberpunk until I mean, I want to see what the expansion is going to look like before I do a new playthrough. Because there's not too much difference from doing it again is not going to change my decisions all that much. I did everything fairly the way I wanted to. There were a few things that I didn't finish, like getting like your meters all the way up, but that's something I can do in the future for completion. I'm not really like I beat the game. But the expansion, I'm still waiting for it, and that will be played and streamed. But I do. Bobby, you got to work tonight? Okay. Okay. All right. Oh, yeah, the window is still on. Okay. So let's go here and. I mean, there were people like, see, that's like, even if you give it its fair shake, like people are like I tried Redfall to see if it's that bad, and look, like it is that bad. Like people, yes, it is. That's not good news, guys. If there were more of you guys in chat, like if you guys, like if I actually had people in chat, not saying, you know, it's whatever, I'm cool. But if there were more people in chat, I would play something like awesome 80s and 90s commercials and see how many old fucks like myself there are in chat. Maybe down the road we can do that. Bulletproof shoulder armor. Oh man. What? Atom Smasher is a construct? Okay. Alright. Alright, good sir. Now you're, where is it at? Now, laid back gamers, you're just baiting me. Atom Smasher is a construct? Well, he might be at this point. Let's see.
Atom Smasher might be a construct. This is an
it's
idea
Cyberpunk Tuesday. Cyberpunk Tuesday, I guess.
Whether it be the source books, anime, or video game. I've only found obscure comments about it online, often leaving it up in the air without any real thought. I'm here to pick up the slack, though. We will be doing a dive into this theory further than anyone else has gone. If you're a fan of the Cyberpunk series and its vast lore spanning since the late 1980s, I'd suggest checking out my channel and subscribing. This way you can keep up to date on the newest mysteries and lore of Cyberpunk.
Because doesn't he have a pod or whatever, like a biopod that his brain or his organic bits are in? Isn't that how Atom Smasher is now? Like he's just like a, or is he just like has his mind been digitized? Is he just a construct? Is the real Atom Smasher in there inside of Mikoshi with Alt Cunningham? That's a terrifying thing to think about. Like the thing that's running around now is just like a thing that approximates what Atom Smasher was in his prime. I mean, technically he's at his prime. Well, no. I mean, we fucked him up. But you know, I mean, this is interesting. Is Atom Smasher a construct? That implies that there is no biological material that is Atom Smasher left, except for maybe the skin flap that covers his face. Which that's what I'm assuming it is just a fucking skin flap that just approximates what a human face would look like.
2077.
Which I don't understand. If you don't want to be human anymore, why would you keep the skin flap?
And its predecessors. Now, we can begin. To set the framework for this theory, I'm going to have to explain a few things to begin with. A digital neural engram, or simply construct, is the construct of consciousness of an individual who has been copied into coding form. They are created using a program called Soul Killer, and many believe are the way to achieve immortality. So of course, this theory proposes that Atom Smasher has been zapped with Soul Killer, in some way, shape, or form, in order to become a construct. An idea that sparked into my head back during the release of Cyberpunk Edgerunners, in which it was made blatantly clear to us during David's death that Smasher is well aware of Soul Killer and its resulting constructs.
You know, you could prove an interesting construct.
Whatever, Zoom. Like I give a shit.
Ah, well.
So, this sets the foundation for Smasher to not only be aware of the existence of engrams, but also of the process in which they are created, seeing as his follow-up to David's remark is to shotgun his skull into mush, blocking any possibility of the construct being produced, and performing a classic bastard Smasher move, hurting the entire fanbase. Let's take a look at this from the perspective of Atom Smasher. There's no real negative to this procedure that is made outwardly apparent to any players, DMs, or analysts. As we all would know at this point, Atom Smasher is not a big fan of meat. No, I don't mean he tends to opt for body conversions that lack genitalia, seeing as Michiko Arasaka actually had a fling with Smasher back in her teenage years, while he was in an Elvis Presley conversion. That's for another video. What I mean, obviously, is Smasher has zero empathy, an essential stat in the tabletop games that represent a player's humanity. Even on Smasher's stat block, it pokes fun at such an idea, stating, yeah, right. So why does this lack of humanity matter in relation to becoming a construct? Well, there's two reasons behind why I bring this up. Smasher finds being a human absolutely disgusting,
Yes.
and becoming a construct would solve a major issue of his. A full body conversion still maintains a portion of your original being, your biosystem, which is essentially your brain and nervous system. Being a construct would allow for the final portion of his meat to theoretically be completely pointless. Therefore, Smasher would achieve the form he has always wished for. A complete conversion. 100% metal, 0% meat. Okay, we all know Smasher is a douchebag who loves being a walking hunk of metal. Why should we think he's already a construct, though? Well, besides the benefits we have established, there is a key inconsistency that points to the idea that Smasher is a construct, capable of transferring between different bodies. Now, I want to give some thanks to Alex Julia. He commented about this detail to me that feels as though it could very well reinforce.
Smasher said to use a Samson up to the point of moving. He is in a die. When he is in a die one. According to its entry in the black chrome, book needs hours of preparation before being fielded, all which are done with the biopod inside. but the timeline of everything happening that night is too short for Smasher to have switched bodies and be run through all Die 1 stages of activation. Leaving aside the fact that the biopod in Die 1 is drugged up to the gills as a matter of procedure to keep it from going completely berserk.
Of course, the idea of a Smasher is a construct. It pushed me to dig where I could and establish some further detail.
Yeah, actually, right, because Adam would not want to be subject to something like that. Maybe it was for aesthetic purposes, but that is a kind of a big detail to fudge, especially when somebody they're obviously pointing it out.
Alex stated that during the 2023 assault on Arasaka Tower, Adam Smasher is said to have used a Samson up to the point he fought Morgan Blackhand on the roof, where he is in a Die Oni. The Die Oni, according to its entry in the Black Chrome books, needs hours of preparation before being fielded, all which are done with a biopod inside. But the timeline of everything happening that night is too short for Smasher to have switched bodies and be run through all Die Oni stages of activation, leaving aside the fact that the biopod in a Die Oni is drugged up to the gills as a matter of procedure to keep it from going completely berserk. If we look into the Firestorm Shockwave sourcebook, we can locate an entry on Adam Smasher that clearly states on page 22, Adam Smasher is built on a heavily modified Samson frame. While I haven't found a direct statement on
Arms, quick change mounts, radiation shielding, biopod. Adam is built on a heavily modified Samson frame and typically wears SP-20 armored coveralls when he's on the job. Give me a total. Cover. Armored coverets. Okay.
On what he is wearing during his surprise attack on Silverhand's crew, it seems extremely likely he is in the Samson frame. This would be the only scenario players can be involved with Smasher, so it's assumed that the DM would be expected to use this specific build. In other words, this would be his canon build, as no one in the group makes note of him looking any different than what is expected. It is only on page 140, during Smasher's duel with Morgan Blackhand, that is officially stated during this specific fight that Adam Smasher in the Die Oni battlesuit confronts him on the roof. Morgan Blackhand is even initially taken aback by Smasher's appearance and armor, showing a clear division between the battle with Silverhand's crew and the duel with Blackhand. To further drive the idea that this very well could have been a construct transfer, you need to have an understanding of the Die Oni set. The Die Oni is an armor set, not the full body conversion itself. There's a major...
Wow, okay. Time for flesh to die. Who do I have to kill? I want. Modern cybernetics development owes its existence to the South Am conflict. This research has accelerated, if anything, in the intervening years. And the current field of combat, cyberware, is a very large one. Here are two developments that represent the newest untested tech and some of the oldest rejected tech. Arasaka Die Oni powered armor conversion. Oh man. Strength 52, SDP 52, SP 80, 1,100 and what? I don't understand what that is. There okay, whatever. The lessons of the Brushfire Wars, February to October 2018, were not lost on K. Arasaka. The embarrassing destruction of an Arasaka installation off the coast. Excuse me. Sorry, my cousin is making absolutely fucking retarded sound. Excuse me, idiotic sounds right now. So he's not really fit for fucking for company. There we go. Let's see. The embarrassing destruction of an Arasaka installation off the coast of China opened his eyes to the possibilities of combat cyborg full-body replacements. All it took was one dragoon to do a job that, according to Arasaka's best generals, was impossible with less than a battalion. Kay began a program to experiment with and recruit combat cyborgs. The program produced some marked successes, including a number of full cyborg spies and assassins. Try as they might, Kay scientists couldn't better IEC's success. It seemed that the Dragoon would remain the preeminent combat full cyborg until new advances in technology could improve upon it. Disappointed by this failure, Kay lowered his sights and ordered his researchers to just produce a better combat cyborg, maybe one that could haul heavier weapons and armor. Forget being lighter and faster. The result was the Dione, the first interlocked cyborg body ACPA. This super demon is a 3.4 meter, 1.12 ton monster, a block of armor and servos devoted to relentless destruction. Not that its size was any more impressive than Russian Arms' massive Boris 1 unit, or its armament more destructive than many Militech Commando variants. No. The Dione's secret lay in its user. No mere human pilot wears the Dione. Its internal circuitry wouldn't allow. Oh, and that's all the text that it's available for that. That looks cool as fuck. I can see why Adam Smasher would want to hop into this motherfucker. I would want to hop into this motherfucker. It looks kind of looks sort of like something from Appleseed, or like something in those heydays of cyborg anime, where you had these big ass mechs, especially in the military police or the police in the anime. All right.
Major requirement though. The Dione requires an Alpha class cyborg body in opposition to Smasher's Samson body. So in between battle with Silverhand and Blackhand, Smasher would have to completely transition between two full body conversions, then also have the Dione armor assembled and activated. There's absolutely no way that he would have the time to do this.
Right.
Meaning that for the transition to occur, he would absolutely need to be a construct.
Yep.
There is one more tactic though. Within the Brainware Blowout sourcebook that is in canon, composed by Rashbar Moss, the legend behind the data crash, we learn of an extremely interesting program. This would be the Emergency Self-Construct, a setup that is supposed to save runners from being killed by anti-personnel attacks. If they run.
So by the time this happens, he was a construct, but he wasn't even a biopod anymore. He was a full-on construct to go into that combat with him. That's interesting. Like, I mean, yeah, it's what he wanted. I would have. Yeah.
With this suffers damage to the mortal stage, the program kicks in and drains their intellect and memories into an electronic entity. Given the ice and programs installed in the Smasher by Arasaka, it wouldn't be outside the realm of possibility that Smasher has this prepared, seeing as the last thing Arasaka wants is to let their most prized dog die. Meaning that during his duel with Morgan, or even V, Smasher could survive. I have some bad news though. I believe there's too much conflicting information to feel completely reassured in this theory. The first of which being that Smasher, when scanned in 2077, appears as 96% cybernetic, leaving the expected 4% meat from a biopod during a full body conversion. While this could be explained by the fact it's possible for a soul-killed body to remain in use by the newly produced engram, it wouldn't line up with Smasher's ideologies. The moment Smasher would be capable of abandoning his meat, he would.
Yep.
There'd be no sense walking around in it for another 5 decades. Furthering this is the fact we have no idea if an engram could function in a 100% cybernetic body. We have evidence that a biopod can function in things such as a vehicle, but the tech behind an engram is vastly different, and this idea remains untested. The next was already stated, and I couldn't find hard evidence that Smasher was in his Samson frame early in the 2023 raid. Alongside this, he still has Shaitan's biopod once he reaches the rooftop to duel Blackhands, likely that during the entire raid, he was suited in his Dione armor, which might even explain his late appearance to intercept Silverhand's crew. Overall, I think this is an extremely interesting theory, and has some possibility of being canon, but it's near impossible to reach a verdict on. All the conflicting information leaves me to have to deny the theory from being completely grounded. Smasher's likely still his tiny little self in his tiny little biopod. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Let me know all your thoughts down below, and if you have any further information to refute or support.
The game states that it's 96%. So his biopod is still there. And this is way after the fight with Blackhand. Maybe he got his modified Samson body to interface with a Dione suit. I don't know. Interesting video.
Do you personally believe Smasher is a construct, or do you believe he remains a regular full body conversion?
Like I said, if it's still a biopod, I mean, it's still 4%. That's still 4%. There's always conflicting evidence. Like, isn't so Johnny Silverhand's corpse is still around. Angel has it, right? Hey Google, who has Johnny Silverhand's body in 2077? Just go with Johnny. There's a looks like which. So, oh, really? Man. Alright, so that's... Alright, let's see. So it has, it's first place, you don't summer jacket, yeah. Of course, the players have a character called Grayson. After defeating him, players have Johnny's gun. Yep. Players have a choice to kill Grayson or let him. If your player chooses to leave Grayson alive, so they'll get a key to a shipping container. Used to drive. Okay. Cross now. Once the players have reached all the fields. And they've discovered Johnny's grave and down. Let's do something about that player. Need to destroy the grove. This ending requires some friendship by getting involved in streaming. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. I think it was the Angel that has his body at some point.
I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
Anyway.
Thank you to every member on screen.
So let's go ahead and what is that? So that was a whole lot of lore on Cyberpunk and a few things in the beginning too. But that I'm really excited for Phantom Liberty. I can't wait. I am going to cut things here because I'm going to go to the store real quick. And I will be back in like 15-20 minutes. So, yeah. Let me go ahead and cut this video here. Yes.